Hello students, this is the GED class, and today we're going to be starting out with two homophones, ale and ale. A homophone is a pair. Homophones are words that are spelled differently but pronounced the same and mean something different, and that's too close. So ale is a verb to feel or be sick. That is spelled A-I-L. He is ailing today means he feels sick today or he is sick today. Ale with an L is a noun. It is a kind of beer that people drink at a bar. He drank too much ale at the pub or at the bar. Now, how do you remember which one has an I in the middle and which one has the L in the middle? One way you remember is that ale has an I in it. I can ail. Yesterday I had a fever. I was ailing. You can't, ail is, with an L is not an action. So the action word that you could use with I as a verb is ail, A-I-L. I hope that will help you remember. Those are pretty easy. There's not a lot of difficult verbs there to try to remember. Now, yesterday our last lesson, we were starting to look at conjunctions that were used to join clauses. And we looked at coordinating conjunctions. Whoops, they're not there anymore. So let's look in your book for just a minute. We're going to go back a page. We're going to go back to page 118 where we were and look at that page. There's a chart there of the coordinating conjunctions that are used to join parts of a sentence into one. And, but or yet, for, so, or, and nor. And if you go through that those exercises again, it will help you know which coordinating conjunction goes with what kind of sentence. So those are coordinating conjunctions. But now we're going to talk about subordinate clauses and subordinate conjunctions. A subordinate clause is not a complete sentence. It has a noun and a verb, but it is not a complete sentence. It starts with a subordinate conjunction. Here are the subordinate conjunctions. Because, which tells us a cause or a reason. I am teaching school from home because there is a virus going around. In effect or result, in order that, so that. I am teaching you at home so that you can continue to learn English. You are studying at home in order that you will continue to learn. Time. Whenever the virus is under control, the school will probably start meeting at the building again. I hope that's soon, don't you? I would love to see you again. So there's lots of time words. After, before. Before I lived in Texas, my family and I lived in Pennsylvania. That tells time. Place, where or wherever. Wherever you live, I would like to visit you. Choice, if or whether. If you are feeling good, I would like to see you tomorrow. Or contradiction, although, though, or even though. Even though I haven't seen you in over a month, I still think of you often. So let's look now at at the board, and then we will get to the book. Hopefully, is that chair in the way? No, good. Okay, so a subordinate clause is not a complete sentence. If I come up to you and say, hello, hello, because I am tired, you would say, what? Because you are tired? Because you are tired what? It's not a complete sentence. Or, although we are not at school. Well, yeah, we're not at school, but what do you mean, although we are not at school? We need more information. Before I left work. Well, you're not at work anymore, so what are you talking about before I left work? So these things have a noun, a subject and a verb, but they are not complete sentences because they start with a subordinating conjunction, and so they are subordinate clauses. They are not the most important clause. So because I am tired is not a sentence, but if we say, because I am tired, comma, I will not stay up late. Let me make that a little darker. Now that's a complete sentence. I will not stay up late is the main clause, but because I am tired is the subordinate clause, and it begins with a subordinate conjunction, because. I will not stay up late because I am tired. This is exactly the same information, but we put the subordinate clause second. There is a slight difference though. Look, because I am tired has a comma after it. When the subordinate clause comes first, there is a comma before the rest of the sentence. And that is a very important point. So let's say that again. If the subordinate clause, which begins with a subordinating conjunction like because, or before, or although, or many others, because I am tired comes first in the sentence, there is a comma. If it comes second, we don't need the comma. So now let's look at this one. I cleaned my desk before I left work. Where is the subordinate clause? Is it first or second? Well, here's the subordinate conjunction. So this is the subordinate clause. It comes second, so we do not need a comma here. There's no comma. Here is the same sentence, though, with the subordinate clause first. Before I left work, I cleaned my desk. So there is that comma. The sentence started with a subordinating conjunction. The subordinate clause is first, so you must have a comma. Very important. I cleaned my desk. Before I left work, comma, I cleaned my desk. Although we are not at school, comma, we can still learn English. Here's the subordinate conjunction, although. But remember, although, though, and even though also have a comma, even if that subordinate clause is in the second part. So we can still learn English, comma, although we are not at school. Why is there a comma there? It's because the subordinate clause starts with although. It would be the same thing if it said we can still learn English though we are not at school. Or we can still learn English even though we are not at school. With those three subordinating conjunctions, you have to have a comma before them. Lots to remember, but if you can remember these things, it will help you do very well on this part of your GED. So let me see if I can bring the first sheet over. I already did this lesson once and made a mistake at the end of the video. So that's why everything is sort of already marked up. Okay. Whoops, I don't want the answer to be here yet, though. So now let's look at page 121. Well, first let's do one thing. There are some things I want you to do before we discuss these questions. I've gone over the material on page 120, but I did not use the examples here. These examples are a little more challenging. I gave you some simple sentences, so if you will stop now and read through page 120, you will get the same information but in a more advanced way that will help you more. So do that now, and then let's go to page 121 where our practice things are. Okay, I hope you paused the video and read page 120. Now let's look at 121. There is more that I want you to do. In a moment, I want you to pause the video and do some more things, and then we will come back together. Okay, so look at page 121. There are directions to part A. It says join the clauses to form complex sentences. Use the subordinating conjunction in parentheses. Okay, well, what is a complex sentence? That is something that is used on page 120, but it is made up of an independent clause and a subordinate clause. So all of these sentences are complex sentences because they have a subordinate clause either at the beginning or the end, and then they have the main clause. So that makes it a complex sentence because it has two sections with a subject and a verb joined by a coordinating conjunction. Or it could be yesterday, or the last lesson, we also looked at let's see, what were the other ones called? I'm always getting them mixed up. Was coordinating conjunctions. These are subordinating conjunctions. Subordinating. Okay. So, look at the sentences. For example, in this example, if is in parentheses, and then there are two sentences. You buy a smoke detector, you can protect your family. So they want you to join those into a complex sentence. There's more than one way to do it, but in the example they said they capitalized if and made that subordinating conjunction the first word in the sentence. So if you buy a smoke detector, comma, you can protect your family. So go ahead and join these other four sentences using the subordinate conjunctions. And we are not going to go over that in class, but if you are not sure if you have it right, you can feel free to take a picture of that and you can text it to me or send it to me over WhatsApp, and I will check it and give you some feedback. And then I want you to go to this other section. It says questions 3 through 7 refer to the following paragraph. So you're reading a paragraph, and if you were on the computer, you would click the little gray box and your choices would appear. But this is not a computer, this is just a book, so our choices are down below. So read the paragraph and then try to figure out what words go into the blank. So when you've done 5, 6, and 7, turn off the computer, do the sentences in 5, 6, and 7, and then turn it back on and we will discuss the answers. Okay, remember when I talked about the rules? When a sentence begins with a subordinating conjunction, then you know that that clause is going to need a comma after it. And when the coordinating conjunction comes in the middle of the sentence, you don't need a comma. That rule is going to help you very much on these three questions. So let's look at number 5. When you blank, it's wise to keep a few key rules in mind. Does this sentence start with a coordinating conjunction? With a subordinating conjunction? Yes, it does. It starts with when. So that means that we need a comma at the end of the subordinating conjunction. There's no comma up here. So that means we look at the answers, and anything that does not have a comma, we can eliminate it. So when you are making a business call, it's wise to keep a few key rules in mind. That sounds good, but look, there's no comma. So we can eliminate A. When you are making a business call, comma, it's wise to keep a few key rules in mind. That could be it. It's probably it. Let's just keep reading. When you will make a business call, it's wise to keep a few key rules in mind. There's no comma. So C is not it. And D, look, besides the fact that these words don't make any sense, there's no comma. So if we just remember that when it starts with a coordinating conjunction, we need a comma after that clause, then we can eliminate everything. So then we can eliminate everything right away and know that B is the answer. So that could be very quick to do. It wouldn't take a long time to find the answer just by looking at the commas. All right, let's look at number 6, and I will get number 6 up here. Okay. Blank the person whether this is a good time to talk. Okay. After you identify yourself, comma, ask the person whether this is a good time to talk. Okay, that's a possibility. It starts with a subordinating conjunction, and look, there's a comma there before the next clause starts. What about this one? Whenever you identify yourself, comma, ask the person whether this is a good time to talk. Subordinating conjunction and comma. So there's 2 possibilities right there. What about this? After you identify yourself, ask the person whether this is a good time to talk. Sounds okay, but look. It started with a subordinating conjunction. After you identify yourself. Ask. I'm sorry. There's no comma there. Subordinating conjunction, same thing here. After identifying yourself and asking. Well, this one makes the whole thing into an incomplete sentence. So neither of these are possible. So we've got it down here. Now this makes it a little harder because you have to decide, is it whenever you identify yourself or after you identify yourself? So let's just think for a minute. Suppose you're making a business call. You work somewhere and you want to sell somebody something, and they pick it up and say, this is Brown Laundry Company. How can I help you? What's the first thing you say? If it's a business call, you say your name and company. You identify yourself. So it's always going to happen right at the beginning. So we don't say whenever, because it is always happens. So we just say when. So we just say after. after makes more sense. That's a little tricky though, perhaps. But this is a little bit harder question because you have to know which coordinating conjunction makes sense. Both of these tell time, but after makes more sense. The other two we could easily eliminate though because there were no commas. So knowing that rule will make this very easy. Now, whoops, let's see if I can get the last one up. And let me just change a few things because the answer was already marked. Okay. Okay. Here we have, before you hang blank, the person for his or her time. Okay, so this section is on complex sentences. So we know we've got two clauses. So let's see. Before you hang the person, before you hang up and then thank the person for his or her time. That doesn't make sense. It's not a complete sentence. But even if you don't know that, there is a clue in this answer that makes it very easy to eliminate and know this is not the right answer. And that is thank is capitalized. There's no reason for that. Thank is not a name, it's an action word, a verb. And there's no period before it, so this one is wrong. Wasn't that nice of them on that confusing one to put that capital letter there and let us know, no, that is not the right answer. Now let's look at B. Before you hang up and thank the person for his or her time, again, we've already got a subordinating conjunction, so we really don't need a coordinating conjunction. Also, we're starting with a subordinating conjunction. There's no comma yet, so we need an answer that has a comma in it at the end of the clause that starts with a subordinating conjunction. So here's another one. Before you hang up, thank the person for his or her time. That sounds pretty good, but look, no comma. We started with a subordinating conjunction. So here is D. Before you hang up, comma, thank the person for his or her time. So D is the right answer. And if you are feeling time pressure, if you are in a hurry, you could just know that this sentence is two clauses. It started with a subordinating conjunction, so you have to have a comma. This is the only answer with a comma. So you could just scan it, see the comma if you're in a hurry, and without checking anything else, just write on it if you're in a hurry. If you're not in a hurry, you might just double check that it is in fact two clauses. It could be something else, but there you go. So those were not too difficult. Okay. I hope that I did not use the wrong words sometimes. Sometimes when I'm talking about coordinating conjunctions and coordinate clauses, subordinating conjunctions and subordinate clauses, I mix up those words. But subordinate clauses start with a subordinating conjunction, one of these words. And if the subordinate clause is at the beginning, the clause has a comma after it before the other clause comes. Okay. So good to see you today. I look forward to the day that we can see each other face to face again. Until then, have a great week, and I will be publishing one more lesson this week. Goodbye.